Right now, somewhere in this country, a grown adult is crying. Not because someone died. Not because their life fell apart. Because a man they've never met missed a ball. And somewhere else, maybe in your house, maybe in your head, someone watched the whole thing unfold and felt absolutely nothing. No guilt. No excitement. No loss. Just quiet. If that second person sounds like you, good. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just about sports. It's about how your brain is built, what you're actually wired to care about, and why the thing most people call boring might be the most psychologically interesting thing about you. Every social gathering has a moment. Someone mentions a game, a score, a player. Half the room lights up. Opinions fly. Voices rise. And then there's the other half, nodding politely, holding their drink, quietly calculating how long before they can change the subject. If you've ever been in that second half and quietly wondered, is something wrong with me? The answer is no. But something is different about you. And the neuroscience behind it is genuinely fascinating. Let's start with why so many people care so intensely in the first place. Because it's not really about sports. Humans evolved in tribes. For most of human history, belonging to a group wasn't a nice thing to have. It was survival. Your tribe protected you, fed you, kept you alive. That instinct never left us. We just redirected it. Sports are essentially modern tribalism, with team colors instead of war paint, and social media instead of campfires. When a diehard fan watches their team play, their brain releases oxytocin, the same bonding hormone triggered by hugging your child or telling someone you love them. Their brain is literally treating 11 strangers in matching jerseys like family. And it doesn't stop there. During a live game, every play, every close call, every moment of uncertainty triggers a dopamine spike, the brain's reward chemical. Neuroscientists using fMRI scans have found that watching your team activates the same reward centers as gambling. And here's the part that makes it so powerful. It's the uncertainty that does it. You don't know if they'll win. That unpredictability keeps dopamine flowing. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive reward pattern known to behavioral science. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines impossible to walk away from. Sports fandom, for millions of people, is neurologically indistinguishable from a very socially acceptable addiction. People who genuinely don't care about sports aren't just less interested. Their brains are responding differently at a biological level. Research from the University of Chicago suggests that variations in dopamine receptor genes can predict how much someone cares about competitive spectator activities. Read that again. Your complete indifference to whether the Lakers win tonight might literally be written in your DNA. Your dopamine system simply doesn't fire in response to vicarious competition. Watching strangers compete doesn't trigger the ancient tribal reward loop. And psychologists have found something else. People with low sports interest score significantly lower on what researchers call tribal thinking, the us versus the mental reflex that makes fans despise the opposing team's fans on sight. They're less likely to define themselves by group membership, more individualistic, more likely to build identity from the inside out rather than borrowing it from a team's record. Their self-esteem is more stable, not because they're better people, but because it isn't anchored to an outcome they can't control. Now here's the part that surprises people, because it sounds like a contradiction. Sports fans actually score higher on certain empathy measures. They practice, constantly, caring deeply about other people's struggles. Strangers, athletes they'll never meet. They feel their pain, celebrate their wins. That's real emotional engagement. So why don't non-sports people feel that same connection? Because empathy isn't unlimited. It's a resource. And people who don't invest it in sports, they're spending it somewhere else. A 2021 study found that people with low sports interest scored significantly higher in two specific personality traits: openness to experience and appreciation for art and beauty. They're getting their emotional highs from music, from literature, from deep conversations, from creative work, from ideas that feel personally meaningful. Their brains are chasing the exact same things sports fans are chasing: meaning, connection, transcendence, the feeling of being part of something larger than yourself. They've just found a different door into the same room. Psychologists have a term for what sports fans build with athletes and teams: parasocial investment. One-sided emotional relationships with people who don't know you exist. People who don't care about sports tend to resist this, sometimes without even knowing why. Intuitively, they prefer to invest emotional energy where there's reciprocity, where their car. There's something quietly radical about that. Instead of spending 3 hours every Sunday absorbed in someone else's struggle, they're absorbed in their own projects, their own relationships, their own questions. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the researcher who spent his career studying peak human experience, found that flow states, those rare moments of complete absorption where time disappears and you feel fully alive, can be triggered by anything. For some people, it's a championship game. For others, it's writing a sentence that finally says exactly what they mean, or solving a problem no one solved before, or disappearing into a piece of music at 2 a.m. Neither is lesser. They're just different maps to the same destination. So the next time someone looks at you sideways because you couldn't care less about last night's game, you don't need to apologize. You don't need to fake enthusiasm. You're not broken. You're not missing a gene for fun. You're just someone whose brain found other things worth caring about. And maybe, just maybe, those things have higher stakes. Because the game you're playing has no season. If this made you think about yourself differently, you're going to want to watch what comes next, because we're going into the psychology of people who live inside their own heads, why the world underestimates them, and what science says about the quiet advantage most people never see coming. It's right there. Click it.